we're gonna there.
2025 is starting off a little rough for everybody. The stake starts now. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to The Stakes. I'm Tara Setmayer. This is the Michelle Kinney. We are the co-founders of the Seneca Project. Happy 2025. Is it?
Throw
I
it
don't
away.
know.
Throw it away.
I don't know.
Can we unplug and then plug it back in? Because so far,
Seriously.
not loving it. Not loving it.
9 days in, and it's already like awful. But we are here and we are gonna make it. For those who are just joining us for the first time, I am not usually in a hotel room, but I am traveling. I'm in New York City to do CNN. I will be on CNN tomorrow night. So that's why I'm here. Just down a few blocks from Michelle, who lives in New York, and we will see each other later. However, that's that, if folks are wondering. But there's a lot going on, and we were hoping we'd have a little bit more of a, I should say, less bad news coming into our first show of the year. But there's a lot. I think first we should start off by, and we'll talk more about this in a second, but there's some breaking news going on. Obviously, LA is on fire. It's apocalyptic. It's heartbreaking, awful, devastating, all of the words. And there just really are no words for what's going on there. And that's the backdrop of the new year here with LA on fire, and the contrast between the way President Biden is handling it and the way our new incoming president is going to handle it. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to give some information on how people can help our fellow Americans out there in LA. We're going to talk about that in a second. We're also going to talk about right now what just happened before we came on air. We had a couple technical difficulties because I'm traveling, so it's just the little gremlins. But it did give me an opportunity to find out SCOTUS actually ruled in favor of the rule of law today, and they are not going to interfere in the sentencing tomorrow of Donald Trump.
Are you serious?
Yes, I knew you didn't know, so I was saving
putting mascara on. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So we're going to get a sentencing. Now, we already know that Donald Trump's not going to get punished.
Right.
Juan Michon, the judge, already said that. Well, that's part of it, and there was really no reason. They said it was 5-4. It was 5-4. Shockingly, John Roberts actually was on the right side, and Amy Coney Barrett. Those were the two that sided with the liberal judges on the side of justice and rule of law. But they basically said that there was, because of the fact that he wasn't going to get sentenced to anything that really mattered, they're like, why are we doing this? There's no reason to interfere. So, but here's the thing I didn't know. And thanks to our friend Joyce, who's the on MSNBC. Why am I going blank on her name right now?
Now I am too. God.
Right. She's the U.S. attorney from Alabama. That's the nicest and always on MSNBC. Why am I just drawing a blank now? I don't know. It's the new year. I'm still discombobulated. But she wrote a piece about Vance. Yes. Can't see at the same time. Joyce Vance, because you know what? Her name on her email and Twitter is Joyce Aileen. So that's what I see. Anyway, Joyce Vance, she wrote a piece explaining why this was actually important, even though we're all upset that he's only going to get a slap on the wrist, basically like a tongue lashing, but he could not be considered an actual convicted felon until the sentencing happened. It's a little legal nugget I didn't know. A lot of folks didn't know that you're technically not a convicted felon until you're sentenced.
Wow.
So he will be sentenced, and then it gives the appellate court the opportunity to, reverse it or not, or review it on appeal. But it's not official till a sentencing happens. So that was the main reason that Judge Merchan decided to move forward with the sentencing before Donald Trump took office, because he will, in fact, I mean, Juan Rashan won't say this, but he will, in fact, go into office as a convicted felon, first time in history. Not a great part of history, but nonetheless, here we are. So small victories, folks. We got to take them where we can get them.
Honestly, I mean, we don't have a ton of power and we haven't had a lot of wins lately. So we have to kind of take them as they come and say, okay, it's not all is lost, right? Not all is lost.
That's right. Yes. So there's that, at least. What was concerning, because we had kind of been waiting for this, right? The sentencing is for tomorrow. So this ought to be an make for interesting topics on CNN tomorrow night. But what I found to be interesting about this is that Samuel Alito had a little bit of a powwow with Trump a couple days ago. It was reported, and it was allegedly, oh yeah, we're just talking about getting a job for someone. That's not that unusual. Yeah, okay. Does anyone believe that?
Right, right. Alito, and that meeting at Trump Tower was about adoptions. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
Right. No one believes you. You need more people. Could you imagine? Remember how MAGA and everybody flipped out when when Bill Clinton had that meeting on the tarmac, right, with the old Attorney General, and it was like, oh, there's the whole thing in cahoots and blah 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 blah. Right. Like, but no, it's perfectly fine when Donald Trump meets with Samuel Alito, with his crazy flags being flown and his wife and the whole thing, and this is what makes people so frustrated, because the system feels like it's so corrupt, and like the Supreme Court used to be above that. Right. And again, there's no consequence for their behavior. They're there for life. This is where elections have consequences. Republicans spent decades using the Supreme Court as a cudgel and using it as a wedge issue and scaring the hell out of people and explaining to their base why the Supreme Court is important. That's how you got the overturning of Roe v. Wade. It was a multi-decade crusade, and they played the long game. And Democrats, they would always sleep on the Supreme Court as, this is the consequence of that. We're living it right now.
Federal law is not a thing. It really just isn't. And I mean, I think if there's anything that we're watching in real time, is that norms are just kind of made up, right? Yeah. And as long as these people are on the court and they have that power to legislate from their bench, they're going to continue to make decisions based on whatever. They're just going to make it up as they go. Well, that doesn't mean that anymore. Well, says who? I guess you now.
Right. To our old friend Michael Cohen, says who? He said that on something else completely different, but still sentiment. Says who? But, I know. It's like, why bother to even have nomination hearings anymore? I mean, you should, but I'm just saying, tongue in cheek. Yeah. But, like, they just tell you what you want to hear, and then once they get there, they can do whatever the hell they want. What are you going to do to me? What are you gonna do? Yeah. So if and this is why, that's exactly, when they're president, they let you do it. But this is why trying to defend certain norms and what used to be common shared values is important, because once you don't agree on those things anymore, it's a free for all, and this is what you get. You get these people, and then it takes a long time to reverse the consequences, and but you can still do it as long as the systems are still there. There is an opportunity to right the ship, but because once it's gone, and we're not far from there. I've got news for you. People who think that they can just be like, oh, I'm going to sit back and it'll figure. We'll be fine in 4 years. No, we won't.
No,
not if you sit on your ass and not do anything.
No, and I think that there's a part of all of this. There's a mourning period, I think, that's going on, not just because Kamala lost more that he won, but also I think there needs to be a mourning of politics as we knew it. It doesn't exist anymore. It's never coming back. It doesn't matter what you do. It's like people who were trying to rebuild the Republican Party, right? I mean, there's people like you who left the party and said, it's dead, I'm gone, bye. I'm politically homeless, that's fine. But I think that in the same way, we have to mourn that, it's not 2015 even anymore. 10 years, a lot has changed. And I think we have to play the game that we are in, not the one that we used to be in, or the one that we want to be in, or the one that, let's uphold traditions and do the right thing. Sometimes the right thing is pushing back. Sometimes the right thing is saying, hell no, I don't care, and obstructing in your own way. And,
Yes.
Tara and I were speaking about this, the Democrats who may or may not attend the inauguration. I'm like, you are essentially normalizing what is happening, normalizing what has happened, what could happen, what he is promising will happen. And when that camera pans over the audience, do you want your face to be part of the story of this history? I certainly wouldn't. Not for any reason.
Exactly. I mean, either this guy is a fascist and as dangerous as we said he is, which we firmly believe, which is why you don't see us obeying in advance. You don't see us saying, well, we'll name the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America if we want to lower prices. If you want to work with us, we'll do that. Like Chuck Schumer freaking just said. Like, you don't see us doing that because we mean what we say. We mean what we say. This is not a game to us. This is not just some normal political, regular election. No, we meant everything we said about Donald Trump and the MAGA movement and the authoritarianism and the totalitarianism and the fascism. All of it is true. And the similarities to Hitler and Mussolini and other authoritarians, history has shown us we didn't make that up. It's valid. And so I'm sorry, I'm not going to go to the inauguration of Hitler. People remember Hitler was elected. Everything he did was legal.
That's right.
Either you believe it's as serious as we all claimed during the election or you don't. And if you don't, well, you know what? We told you so when it all goes to hell. And you're going, oh, but we thought that, you know what my grandmother used to say? She used to say, you know what thought he fart, but he shit in his pants. Okay. And it took me a long time until adulthood, until I understood what that actually meant. But I get it now, Nana. Rest in peace.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that person. No. Chuck freaking Schumer. Come on.
Listen, when I saw this, I thought it was fake. Like I thought it was fake. And then I had to actually go look it up and pull it. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Now, listen, I used to be vice president of a Democratic club here in New York City. If you don't know, like the Dem clubs are kind of like a big part of the machine here and getting people petitioned and nominated and things like that. Chuck Schumer is an excellent retail politician. He shows up, old school. He shows up to everything that he is invited to. He remembers everybody's name. He looks at you like you've known him for 50 years. That being said, and that's why he continues to win, because he's non-controversial and he's like pretty decent at his job and he's been there forever. I cannot. Like I'm going to call his office tomorrow, and I'm going to make a complaint, which I don't really do that often, because I live in a community in a state that usually I'm pretty okay with everything that's going on. But I'm not okay with this. Not anymore. Not anymore. Yeah. And people ask Tara and I all the time, you tell us to fight back. What can I do? One of the things that you can do is hold your Democratic representatives and senators accountable for what they are doing. Do not allow them to sit idly by and pretend it's 1996. That's a big part of it. And listen, even if they're not your rep, call anyways.
Yep. That's the only thing they respond to. It's the only thing. You have to remember, elected officials work for us.
Yes.
We put them into office. Our tax dollars pay their salaries.
Yeah.
So even if you do
do pretty well too.
I mean, depending on where you live, but yes, I mean, everybody gets paid the same, but if you live in Wyoming, $176,000 goes a lot farther than New York City, but
exactly. Yes.
But still, it's a lot more than the average American makes. And you get a housing allowance, and it ain't too bad being a member of Congress. I worked in Capitol Hill for 7 years. It's not that bad. But people forget this. They only respond to threats to their own power. The first thing you learn in Political Science 101 is that elected officials are single seekers of reelection. That is their
Yes.
number one goal, because they can't have their power, or they can't help their constituents, or even, even the good ones who go in for the right reasons, they
Yeah.
have to protect their power if they're going to be able to do anything for you. So
Mhm.
getting reelected is priority number one. So you have to leverage that. Even if you have a Republican or a MAGA congressman or a MAGA, school board members or city council members, whatever,
Yeah.
still don't make it easy for them. There's a
Mm-mm.
reason for an opposition. You have to
Right.
speak up and mobilize, and you never know, because guess what? The devil always oversteps. They
Mhm.
always eventually overstep, and you want
Yep.
to be there ready and organized with the
That's right.
alternative. So that's when we say fight back, we're talking about the most basic things that you can do as a regular average American. That is priority number one. Continue to
Mhm.
make your voice heard and make sure these bastards are not getting away with it. It
Yep.
matters. The more collective anger works. Trust me, I've seen it on both sides. So that's the first place to start, at the state, local, and national levels. Don't be afraid. It doesn't take long to make a phone call or send an email or go to a city council meeting. You have to be involved, because if you're not,
Mhm.
the other side is. They never stop. Never.
Mhm.
So we cannot either. That's why we're still here. And for everyone that's listening and watching, we're glad you're still here, because I know that people are desperately looking for
Yeah.
leadership. They're looking, what do we do? What do we do? And we've had to take a minute, because
Oh,
believe me, it
for
hasn't been
sure.
easy for any of us. This is new war. This is new territory for a lot of us.
Mhm.
Um, just because of the way the system has gone against our traditional ways of doing things. Like, we've never
Right.
really encountered it like this. But there are still some basic things that still will work,
Yes.
or at least we can make the attempt, as long as we still have the system we have. So
Yep.
we cannot get despondent. That's what they want. They want to
Mhm.
wear us down. And that's what
Yep.
happened. And you can't appease them either. That's something else that we are watching a lot of Democrats do, which is incredibly frustrating for a lot of people. Watching Democrats think that the same way of, oh, we're going to have bipartisanship and we're going to go get
Mm.
along. And listen,
It's
you yeah, there is no well, I'll give you this if you give me that. No, no, no,
no.
no. How
Oh,
about you guys don't do crazy shit that's
yeah.
unconstitutional, that's against our democratic norms, that's racist and sexist and threatening and imperialist and Putin apologist and all that. How about you guys don't do that stuff?
Right.
And as long as you do, we want nothing to do with you.
Right.
When you don't do that and you want to talk like real policies and legislation, we'll be over here writing laws and legislation that actually help the American people.
Yep.
Until then, you guys want to participate in that? We'll meet you halfway. But if you're
And
going to do crazy shit, like try to invade Greenland and Panama and round up people with the military, we want no parts of that, and we're going to call you out for it. That's what they should be doing. Not going down
yeah,
to Mar-a-Lago like John Fetterman's about to do, which I don't understand what he's doing. Senator Fetterman from Pennsylvania.
that
He
young
just said he's
man
going to go
lost
down
the
to
plot.
Mar-a-Lago. What are you doing?
There it
There it
is.
is. And then joking about being Pope of Greenland, joking about us potentially militarily invading a sovereign territory of Denmark. How
Listen,
is this okay? Could you
this man
imagine if
this man
Democrats
has
did this?
no. I mean, this man has lost the plot, first of all. I feel hoodwinked by him in general. There's something not
Literally,
right. Yeah, right. Took
this
me a second.
freaking guy.
Um, things, listen, I don't hold it against people to come from means or anything like that. I mean, we all have our own stories and our own backgrounds and our own struggles, right? But John Fetterman he's benefited from the wealth of his parents in order to serve in the public realm. He was able to be mayor of small towns and have jobs like that paid him next to nothing because his parents supported him financially. He has
Mm-hmm.
never had to struggle. I think he likes to show us that he might, just based on how he dresses and how he presents himself
That's
to the
yeah.
world. I
It's
think it's part of the
overcompensation for
thing.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's overcompensating, but don't for one second be fooled that he is somebody who has struggled and can speak to working people in a way that if you have ever had to live paycheck to paycheck or wonder if you're going to be able to make your rent or your mortgage, that's not something John Fetterman has ever had to worry about. So I say all that with, you know, going down to Mar-a-Lago. I mean, okay, whatever, dude. I mean, I feel like he won that race. And listen, Tara and I, worked and messaged in that race that he was in against Dr. Oz. And I think because of the candidate quality is how he won. I mean, Dr. Oz is just so insane and he kills puppies and he's like nuts.
And a complete fraud. Just as an
And a
aside,
complete fraud.
we drove
Right.
we drove to Florida for New Year's. We went down to the Space Coast, and if people follow me on social, they saw us watching rockets and stuff and all the goofy things we do. But we listened to, because the drive is 12 hours. We listened to a bunch of podcasts, and there's an awesome podcast called Scamfluencers. It's
Yeah,
two
I just
chicks. They're
subscribed to that.
awesome. They're awesome. They're from Canada. And anyway, they did an episode on Dr. Oz. Everybody should listen. I thought I knew a lot about him. I learned a lot more, and it's
That
even worse.
man, that
Yes.
man. I love Oprah, but man, she has given us some real bad people.
And he was he was a legit accomplished
I know, it was like
surgeon.
was he
He
like
didn't have to
a
go that way.
heart surgeon or something? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. He
Yeah.
didn't have to go that way, but ambition and greed is,
Yeah. It's like
the root of all
Gollum in
evil.
Lord of the Rings. It's like they get a taste of
Yes.
it and they're like, it has to be more. It has to be more. And there
It's
is
true.
no amount of money or power that will be enough for people like this.
Nope. And
Unfortunately.
Fetterman, unfortunately, is, I think, making a mistake. I think he's
Oh, big
looking
time.
at getting reelected, and he goes, "Oh, I'm a senator for everyone in my state." Yes, you are. That doesn't mean that you have to ass kiss a fascist. So
Right.
who's going to do nothing? See, this is the thing I don't get about Democrats. All of these Democrats that are going there thinking that they're going to be nice to MAGA. How many times? It's like Lucy in the
Well,
football and
that's
Linus in the
exactly what
football.
I was thinking. Exactly.
How many times? These people aren't
It's just
capable of it. They're nihilists. They're
yeah.
laughing at you.
Yes.
They're
Laughing
laughing
at
at you.
you.
This is going to get you nowhere.
Like, look at these
Nowhere.
idiots. Look at these idiots.
Yes.
Like they don't know. I don't know if they think they're going to be spared or if like it'll be different this time. Like this is not a hypothetical. We
Delusional.
know who this man is. He's already been president. And then he continued to harass us for 4 years when he wasn't president. And here's to that point, I would like to play a clip. Donald Trump was on Hugh Hewitt's show on January 6th. And he spent the whole interview complaining that people aren't nice to him, complaining that I don't know how you're an environmentalist and you like windmills, and then
Still
he
with
complained
this.
back. All right. Oh yeah, it'll never end. And then continued on January 6th to complain that the Biden administration is not making the transition smooth for him. I was like, really, bitch? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
You
it's
tried to
projection. We all know.
You tried to
Right.
overthrow the government and have your vice president killed.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he's noticing though that there is a fair amount of pulling back from people. And of course now I can't find it because we had a
Oh, that's okay.
I have it here though.
Yeah. As you're finding that clip, because I think it's
Yeah.
important for people to you have the actual audio of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's important for people to hear it, because when I heard this on January 6th, of course, it enraged me even more. January 6th was a very tough day for me, and I know it was for a lot of other people who believe in our rule of law and who watched that god awful day, and whose hearts break for those officers, and like I've been blessed to get to know some of them, and just it touches me in a visceral way, being the wife and granddaughter of law enforcement officers. It just everything about January 6th makes me want to burn the Republican Party and MAGA to the ground 10 times over. I will never forgive them I put a video out
Mhm.
about this. I went off about this on Mary Trump's show on Nerd Avengers. I will never forgive them because every single one of those Republicans that tries to make January 6th into some kind of, tourist day, and it was a peaceful day of love, they spit on the Constitution, the oath of office they took, and the blood, sweat, tears, and the lives of those law enforcement officers that protected their ungrateful bastard asses from insurrectionists that day. They spit on
Mhm.
them. And that makes that just it motivates me even more to defeat them with every fiber of my being if it's the last thing I do. So, did I give you enough time?
No,
Did
I
you
don't
find it?
I don't know
No?
where it went. I'm so sorry. But
Okay,
he
do we
but
have
he
the picture of it?
no, because I had the I had the video.
Okay, that's
But
okay. I want to read it. I'll find it. Go ahead. Because I think people need to know. They need to hear it. It's they at
yeah, if
least need to
you
see
do
the
you have it there? Do you wanna read it?
I'm gonna find it. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, no, basically, Trump is noticing that, people aren't fighting him in the same way anymore. And he said, I don't
I got
really
it.
want to say that he has, or that people have given up because that's not nice. But,
I found it. I got it.
okay, if you want to read it.
It- yeah, this is what he said. This is to Hugh Hewitt on the radio on January 6th, people. He said,
Mhm.
in my first term, people were fighting me all the way. They were just fighting me. In this term, it's so different. I think, I don't want to say people have given up because that's not nice, but they recognize that we really do have that mandate. Okay, first of all, no, they don't have a mandate. The
Yep.
election was incredibly close. Incredibly, the closest election in 30 years. So
Yeah.
since Bush v. Gore. So they need to 25 years. So they need to shut up with this mandate shit. Okay. They don't have a mandate. And Democrats are
Right.
not pushing back, and the media is complicit and going along with the narrative. So the more you
Yeah.
repeat it, the more people believe it. They do not have a mandate. Do you see the House of Representatives? It
Mhm.
is razor thin close. Down
Mhm.
ballot Democrats switched a bunch of Republican seats, and it is razor thin. That's not a
Yep.
mandate. The
No.
Senate is only 3 seats. That is not a mandate. So Donald Trump needs to cut the shit with that. Now, the other things they need to cut the shit with doing is all these Democrats that are just throwing up their hands. Because yeah, he's right. There are a lot of people that are they're not fighting. They're laying down. And that is not the posture we need to have. I use the example of getting punched by Mike Tyson. A Mike Tyson left hook level punch is about to hit this country on January 20th. Now, we felt that gut punch on election day when Trump won. And what happens in a prize fight? You go and you retreat to your corner, rest, the cut man comes in and fixes you up. You get a sip of water, you spit it out, you recuperate, and you get back in the ring. Because if you sit too long to recover, you will get counted out. We can't get counted out. Democrats cannot sit and cower in the corner and get counted out. You regroup, you prepare, you reconstitute, you get in fighting shape, and you go back out there. That's what we are doing now, and we need to pressure more Democrats in leadership because there are some out there that Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Max Frost and Dan Goldman, like there's a whole bunch of them, but they're not in leadership because the old guard can't let it go. And they're
Yep.
trying to do the same things they did before. And that's not working. You don't believe me? Look at this video that the Senate put out.
Oh my
Do we
God.
have
First
it?
of all, we do, and I also have the other Hugh Hewitt ones. I feel like it's important to hear it from
Oh,
the
good. You
horse's
found
mouth.
it.
I did. Do you
Good.
want me to play that
Good.
first?
Yeah, play it. Play it.
Okay.
It's important.
Okay.
We're not making
Okay.
it up.
We certainly are not. Hold on one second
No,
here.
I wish we were.
In my first term, people were fighting me all the way. They were just fighting me. In this term, it's so different. I don't want to say people have given up because that's not nice, but they recognize that we really do have that mandate. You know, getting the popular vote by millions and millions of votes, something a Republican doesn't do that often, to be honest. Okay?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. But getting the popular vote, I used to hate it when they said, well, he won the election, but he didn't win the popular vote. You know, they'd always say that. Now they can't say that. Now they can say we won the election in a landslide. We have a great mandate to do things, and I just find, like, even if you talk the tech companies, Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and the people, you know, they've all been here. The people from Google have been here, Sundar, Sergey, they've all been to Mar-a-Lago.
You may add Bill Gates to that list soon. I'm hearing that Bill Gates is going to go down there now. Not his wife, ex-wife, I mean. Not his
God,
ex.
no. God, no.
Not Bezos' ex-wife. They're doing good with their money, and they earned it. So, yeah, I mean, we can't let them think that.
No, it certainly shows, first of all, like, what's important to him.
Oh, well,
it's
that's not
like, I mean, the people up, you know, it's very Evita. It's very Eva Peron. That certainly hasn't like changed about him. Yeah, that it hasn't changed.
Never will. He's a maladjusted, malignant narcissist. So that's never changing.
Yeah. And, you know, I think he likes to parade these people around, and but he notices that he's noticing how we're all feeling. He's like, listen, Donald Trump is an idiot in a lot of ways, but he's also very smart. And he leads people he's very good at knowing what people want, saying it, and reading them. And in this instance, he's going to take advantage of the fact that no one is pushing back on him.
100%. 100%, and he doesn't like the pushback. So that's why we need to push back. We need to push back and point out his inadequacies and his ineptitude and the people around him, because he preys on the fact that people are not paying attention or they're ignorant, which is why they've gone for going after what's true and facts. Mark Zuckerberg and all these guys, you saw Zuckerberg and his, I don't know, and his like Justin Timberlake look from the 90s. What is that?
Hold on. So first of all,
what is this?
He's changed his look, and he made a really weird announcement saying that Facebook, Meta, is going to stop fact checking, and they're going to have community notes, is kind of what they have on Twitter, right? It's just like it takes a village to to fact check it. And he's like, oh, you know, our fact checkers here in California are too politically biased. I'm like, facts are facts, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole thing is just bullshit anyways. But first of all, who wore it better? That's Seth Green from Can't Hardly Wait. Because that's all I think about every time I see him.
It looks like a Justin Timberlake wannabe, like your old uncle wants to be an NSYNC member 30 years later, and that's what he put on. Because it's like, I don't know what that is. It looks asinine, and he looks ridiculous. Besides what he was saying, just being the worst.
Yeah, and he clearly has changed his look to go to a more MAGA brand, I think. I mean, there's something about him. I mean, listen, any posturing that they were ever doing, like, oh, we care about democracy, free speech, bullshit.
No,
they are elated. They are elated that this is happening because they finally, you know, can do all the things that they want to do. And listen, free speech is not the same as spewing disinformation and putting people in danger.
Correct. And also, just so you know, the whole free speech thing is about government, not private companies. They have the ability to monitor or censor if you want. God forbid we use that word, but that's not what they were doing. But they could if they wanted to. It's a private company. There is no free speech in a private company. They can do whatever they want.
Yep. And in that announcement that he made, he was wearing one of the rarest watches in the world, worth $900,000, while announcing the end of fact checking at Meta. Listen, not to get on a tangent about this, but there is a real problem in this country with income inequality. We are reaching levels of pre-French Revolution income inequality. And people are, I think, starting to see it, especially now that we have how many billionaires in the cabinet? I mean,
there's like 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
The most ever.
Right. I mean, being a billionaire used to be a very rare thing. I think we had like 500 billionaires in the United States. We have like 2,500 now.
Yeah.
And while people are just getting richer and richer and richer, and being sold a lemon by the Republicans, especially, people are struggling. There were 75,000 people who were kicked off their homeowners insurance a couple weeks before this fire in Los Angeles. People are being denied life-saving medical treatment from their health insurance providers. There's a lot of this going on, and there's going to come a time where I hope that people will start to push back in a real way, because their lives are being changed and in many ways threatened by what's happening from the Mark Zuckerberg.
We're going to hear the term oligarchy a lot more, because people are going to learn that. We used to only refer to places like Russia when we talked about oligarchs.
Right.
But we're starting to see the emergence of an American oligarchy of rich guys basically buying the government and getting what they want. They actually run things, and the government's just their puppets. That's Donald Trump, right? Now, the free market capitalist in me does not begrudge billionaires. I don't begrudge people who are successful. Sure. As long as you are, doing it the right way, then good for you. God bless.
Right.
But when you start getting into messing around with like our democratic norms and institutions and the let them eat cake type of stuff, that's when I have a problem with it, because that's not the way it's supposed to be. At least not in America anyway.
Right.
So,
I mean, the Mark Cubans of the world, God bless. I mean, honestly. And he talks about the cost plus drugs company that he has started. I mean, he really does it. Yeah, it is a business. He wants to make a profit, but at the same time, he sees that there's a problem that he's trying to solve, and he's doing that through the free market, which is so smart and appreciated, quite frankly.
Yes. And which leads us back to what I started to bring up about the Democrats not messaging, right? The Democrats are supposed to be the ones that are looking out for you and me, right? The regular folks, they're not, we're here to fight for you. Donald Trump was really good at convincing people that he was a man of the people, which is that's going to be a case study for decades. Volumes are going to be written on how he was able to do that.
Rich boy from Queens, y'all.
There is nothing man of the people about Donald Trump at all, ever. Not 1 ounce. It's all a facade and bullshit. And he has bullshitted tens of millions of Americans into thinking he gives two shits about them. And he doesn't. And it's anyway. So Democrats, right? They're looking at, okay, we know we have a messaging problem. We have to do better talking to people to get our message out. And guess what, guys? This is what the Senate Democrats came up with. They're very proud of this.
I just want to say to all, they're all good people.
Yes, this is not about them personally.
But
just let's just let it run.
Yeah, and then we'll talk on the other side.
And we'll talk about it.
Okay.
How's my tie? Is it okay? It's not straight.
Here we go.
We're different.
Wisconsin.
Rhode Island.
Hawaii.
New York.
From the Great Lakes
To the Mountain West.
the Pacific Northwest,
To the south.
And the Northeast.
Coast to coast.
We have differences.
And some disagreements. But Senate Democrats are fiercely united on this.
We are not here because of who we are against.
We are here because of who we are for.
Every one of us was elected to fight for working Americans.
For American families.
For you.
for you.
For you.
We're here to make housing more affordable.
To help working Americans
keep more of their hard-earned paychecks.
To lower the cost of child care.
Prescription drugs.
And yes, groceries.
To help small businesses thrive.
And every child have a safe and great public education.
We are here to fight.
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 to fight for Americans.
We will work with anyone.
Anyone.
If they want to make life better for you.
But
If Donald Trump and Senate Republicans
do things to hurt you.
we will fight.
We will fight.
If they come after affordable health care.
If they pursue policies that drive up costs.
If they ignore the threat of climate change.
If they come after our troops and veterans' benefits.
if they take away access to reproductive
still going?
rights, attack our basic freedoms.
If they
It's
try
almost
to enrich
over.
their
Still
friends,
going?
if they pay for tax cuts
I
for the
think it's
wealthy by
important to
coming
watch
after
the
your
whole thing, because
paycheck,
this
your
is
Social
what was put out
Security,
into the
Your
world.
Medicare.
they will have to come
how
through
you feel
us,
right now is
through
how-
us.
Through
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is a new Congress.
It is a new day.
We are united.
Determined.
Ready.
The 119th Congress has begun.
All right, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's get to work.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's get started.
Oh, I want to die.
Oh, for the love of God. Okay, I just want, I mean, I can't see the comments. I don't know if people are commenting, but I'm going to encourage everyone watching to tell us what you thought. I mean, obviously we've prejudiced it. You see how we feel about it. But if we're off base, please tell us. Because
Yeah, seriously.
personally,
Because sometimes I can be a little snobby about these things. So maybe I was like, but I woke up this morning
it's not a Seneca Project ad, okay? It's not a Seneca
no.
Project production.
The thing is, I mean, I woke up this morning and I I saw this on Instagram and I sent it to Tara and I was like, I understand what they were trying to do. And listen, it's a good idea. It is a good idea to do this kind of content. However, this is corny as hell. Like, I don't feel who's watching that and is like, yeah, nobody. And
No one.
I'm sure it was some staffer. I'm sure some staffer.
The consultants that told them to do it.
That really, honestly, that might be more like it. They wheeled somebody into the office at the Senate building and, they had a white background and a couple lights and gave them a script, which, by the way, no one memorized because they were like, I'm going to fight for you. So it just it's so disingenuous. And I was like, this is what people are so over. Like, they're over it because they're like, I don't believe you. No one believes them. And like, I know that these people mean it. They're all good people who are, I think, for the most part, in politics for a good reason. And
yes,
but this is not the way. This is.
So let me
not
tell
the
you
way.
what. I'm going to tell you, everybody, what I told Michelle when I watched this.
Mhm.
I come from Republican world, as you all know. There is a reason Republicans do videos with their shotguns out hunting in camo gear or in their like bass fishing get up with a fucking fishing pole or some shit, or they're like working on a car in their yard, like that's what Republicans do because that's what real people do.
Yeah.
So a lot of
And they're
those
usually wearing
Republicans,
normal clothes.
right?
you
They
know?
wear normal clothes and they're out there, even sometimes it's a little much, but the point is that Republicans understand visuals and storytelling and how to connect with people. It might be a bunch of bullshit, but at least they're making the attempt to say, like, look, I'm in my own element just like you. Right. And it's worked. They don't do these canned, corny videos with everybody reading a script with a white in the background, thinking they're real clever and like, oh, we're gonna get to work. And is my mic on? Oh, Jesus, loosen up, right? Loosen up.
The Democrats are supposed to be more fun, anyways. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Loosen up. Michelle and I were talking about what we would have done. We were like, I was like, they would have been in normal clothes. They should have been in their home states. Everybody should get a good freaking editor. They don't know any. We've got some. Get a decent editor. Have everybody do it on their freaking phones.
Hire a comedy writer, for God's sakes. Hire a comedy writer.
Or
just
get
somebody who can write like colloquial stuff.
Colloquially, or just be normal.
Yeah.
Just be Democrats. Just be normal. Just talk like normal people. Do normal people things.
Yeah.
They should have each done something from their home. Right. Walk your dog, get a cup of coffee, like normal things and say, I'm going to fight for you, or have be in the mountains in your state of Colorado or Brian Schatz in Hawaii or, Klobuchar in Minnesota was out in the snow when she did the announcement. Like things that are unique to your state. It doesn't. It's not that hard to do.
It's not, because you can hire, first of all, if anybody's listening from the Democrats, people who have power to do these things, if you're listening, great. If not, whatever. I'll just say it to you guys. You can hire a film crew just about anywhere. Okay. If you're directing something like this, you can give them specs and you can really direct remotely from anywhere, as long as you're on like FaceTime or Zoom or something like that. It's not that expensive. You can find people to do this. If you have an aesthetic and a message and a story that you want to tell with something like this, and quite frankly, like, people want to be, they want to hear, I know you're upset and you're angry. This sucks. This sucks.
Yep.
I know.
And
I'm
we feel
upset
you.
too. We feel you.
It's I feel
it
your
too.
pain. It's Bill Clinton's I feel your pain. However, that translates in 2024. That shit works because it's authentic.
Yep.
Be authentic. Be, I have a bracelet right now that I'm wearing that says be fearlessly authentic. Okay?
Yeah.
That matters. It goes a long way. People connect with authenticity. So you know what, Michelle? They didn't even have to do all that and hire a film crew.
No.
They could have freaking done it from their phones and spliced it together.
That's the thing.
You know what I mean?
Honestly,
it's real.
Honestly, some of the lower quality produced things perform much better because they seem real, and because everybody's got a phone and it's through the lens that everybody's used to. But in terms of like, if you want to do something produced, this is where I'm like, and show that you have a sense of humor, or at least try.
Yes.
We can laugh at ourselves. That's right. And that's where I came in, like, comedy writer stuff, because there was it's a long story, but there's a lot of comedy writers who have a lot of and late night writers who have experience in politics, who've been speech writers and all kinds of things. There's people who have all kinds of skill sets and can write for different voices and can set up jokes. And that's just the vision that I had right off the bat, is just being like, acknowledging the elephant in the room is like, this sucks. And the unimaginable has happened.
Yes.
It's
and
happened.
We're all just like, we're going to do it. I don't know. It feels really out of touch. And I know there's some of my Democratic friends were like, "Oh, this is great, guys. This is what we need more of this."
Stop encouraging it.
Look,
stop.
I'm going to give them a pass because I think that it's Stockholm syndrome a little bit. Because it's hard to admit that you really suck at something and that you've got to completely revamp how you do it. So, but guys, you got to revamp how you do it. You've got to be tougher, more authentic, and talk like normal freaking people, or else you're going to keep losing. This is why Republicans beat Democrats all the time on messaging. So that's our little rant about that. Hopefully someone will listen and it'll start to break through, because right now Democrats are a bit rudderless.
I'll help you.
We're here to help, people. We're here to help. And that's another reason why we are staying in the fight, and we need people to make sure they continue to support us so that we can help them. We're not going to be able to fix it all, but we can help them. And our content and storytelling is part of the secret sauce of why people were so impacted by what we did. We would love to scale it up and do more of it. There's a lot to be done. And to galvanize people. You can't get people to act if you don't get their hearts and minds first.
Correct.
So that's where we come in. So that, Dems, don't do that again. Okay. That kind of stuff doesn't win hearts and minds, people. That doesn't inspire people. It doesn't inspire. They need to watch Jerry Maguire. Go watch Jerry Maguire.
Yes, honestly. Or, and like, I think that two people, at least for me, that I feel the most in touch with, and the people that are out there speaking against this right now, is Jasmine Crockett and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Those are the two, to me, that are out there being like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Because that is those are the conversations that we're having with our family and our friends. Like, being like, I can't effing believe that this is going on. Can you believe it?
And it's not even about, you don't even have to agree with them on policy. Like, I don't agree with a lot of AOC's policies, but you know what? Damn it, I respect her fight, and that she's real, and she's not, and she's like being honest about stuff. And it's like, that's what you need. That inspires people. Inspires people.
There's a reason she beat an incumbent of how many years up in the Bronx. I mean, her shoes are in a museum for how many doors that she knocked on. And she connected with people in a real way. And she still is. I mean, she's beloved by her district and a lot of people in New York. And there's a reason for that. And I don't always agree with her either. But for the most part, I'm like, yeah, girl, I got you. Because
and here's the
you're
thing.
real.
Yes, and here's the thing, and this is where it translates to kind of what happened today and what's been happening the last couple of days. We
Mhm.
saw the funeral of Jimmy Carter,
Ugh.
and we can have disagreements on the successes or failures of his presidency. I'm sure we all have different perspectives on his actual presidency, but it's undeniable that he was a good and decent man that will have
Mhm.
that's left a tremendous legacy of altruism and good in the world, and was incredibly well respected.
Yeah.
And the funeral today, I think some people were a little like, really, this is what we're doing, with the kind of people yucking it up, like Obama and Trump were yucking it up, but there were also some icy
Oh,
interactions. I mean,
I clipped I
mother with the snub,
mother. Mother was
the
mothering.
snub.
I I, um, I clipped some of these together, and there's just some things that I think are important. Just
Yeah.
you know those movies that they show the same story from all different kind of vantage points? Like, that's what I feel like I'm watching. Like, there was the same, like, 1 minute from all different points of view and looking at
Yeah.
different people, and I just think there's a lot to extrapolate. So I'm just gonna play this here. Ah.
Former President Trump. I'm not sure former Vice President Pence and Donald Trump have seen each other
Karen,
since.
denied. I just don't like the way he looks at her. He's like checking her out.
It's weird. I think he's got a weird
Oh, I think so. I think he thinks
obsession
she's
with her.
hot and doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Legit.
Yeah.
And just staring at her. Like, stop.
Yeah.
And so then Obama and Donald Trump start talking. I would die to just know what that was about.
Oh my God. They have lip readers trying to figure it out.
Ugh, I know. I know. Hold on, we're getting to the. Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Did you get the? Okay. Did you get George W?
Oh, I didn't. There's a moment where George W. Bush is coming to sit down and like gives Barack Obama like a little tap on his chest, as kind of like, hey kid. And it was, I mean, again, however you feel.
But the point is, he completely ignored Trump.
Exactly.
I wish he would have spoken out against him. I'm disappointed in George W. for doing that, but I still have love for George W.
Yes, and here's like just a more close up of the two of them talking, and like Barack Obama laughing here. There's a lot of people who were responding to that today. Like what?
Like what? But look at Melania.
I know.
She looks absolutely miserable. You know who's curiously absent is Michelle. I haven't heard why she didn't go, but you know what? I know maybe she was like, I'm not sitting near these people, and I don't blame her. I get it. Barack Obama gets like a Nobel Prize for having to sit next to Trump and put up with his shit the whole time.
Well, I was thinking that. I was like, what bet did he lose? Jesus. I was like, all right, we're gonna put Barack next to Orange Man, because you know that man stinks.
Yeah,
he stinks up the joint. And I just
love
this moment. I just looking at her, and I just was like, what it could have been. Now, this is just the last clip here. This is the last clip here. It's the same sad music. Look at her face.
She looks terrible. And she looks miserable. And I would love someone. I know there's going to be a comedian that's going to do some thought bubbles of what's going through her mind. My God.
They put her on the end and wearing some, I don't know, pilgrim outfit. And look at her, like, just.
She would rather be eating glass on fire than having to sit there next to Trump this whole time. People, listen, I have made no, it's no secret of my disdain for Melania Trump, who I just think is the worst and an ungrateful person who could be milking goats in Slovenia, and she has some nerve to complain about being the first lady of the United States. Yeah. She has the nerve to complain about anything. Okay. I mean, she was able to show her tits and ass and make a career out of it and get married to a billionaire and become the first lady of the United States and has the audacity to have an attitude about anything. She can fuck all the way off. So I am over her. I don't care if she's miserable. I don't give a shit. Some people were saying, oh, it was a year since her mother died and she was sad.
Oh,
You know
please.
what? I'm sorry. Whatever.
Please,
Okay. She can go fuck herself. Okay. I have no patience for her at all. And one of the things that I can't stand, well, you know what? The fact she won't really be around a lot in the White House is not such a bad thing, especially after the classiness that we had in Jill Biden, who I absolutely adore and love and is actually a good person. I can't with her.
I know.
And you know, and don't feel sorry for her either. Okay. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's just as bad as he is. And, you know, she's the one that complained about Christmas, wore a jacket that said, I don't really care, do you? Complained about the kids in cages and about, you know, okay, listen, she's
I don't
just
care
as
about
bad
the
as he is.
Christmas.
Yeah, she's just as bad as he is. Do not feel sorry for her. Do not. They deserve each other, okay?
Ivanka,
And
same thing.
Same thing. Don't
They're
feel
not
sorry for any of them. They are not victims in any of this. But you know who's victims? The rest of us. Those of us who are good and decent people who didn't vote for these freaking people that now are going to have to suffer through and fight like hell to save our country for the next 4 years from making this any worse. And the people we have not really talked much about California, and I think it's important that we do right now.
Yeah.
Donald Trump already.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't know if this was the last thing we want to talk about because there was the other thing that I wanted to show too. So I just want to make sure.
Oh yeah, no, we're going to end on that for sure.
Okay. Great.
Yep. No, I got you. Donald Trump put out, while people's houses are burning to the ground, okay, their lives are going up literally in flames and ashes. Donald Trump puts out this classless, childish, juvenile tweet about Gavin Newsom, calling him Gavin Newscum. Okay, this is about to be the president of the United States again. I just cannot. Okay, this is the person that Democrats think they're going to work with. Like, come on, guys, wake up. Anyway, Gavin Newscum, and he's going on and on, blaming basically Democrats for why the fires are happening. I'm not going to spend time going into the Santa Ana winds and the droughts and the weather conditions and what happened there with all that. But what I will tell you is, because the news stations are doing that, and you guys can look it up. But what I can tell you is, DEI had nothing to do with what's happening with the firefighters. They are heroes, and they are doing their damnness to save as many people and their properties and their animals as they can. So cut the shit, all of you MAGAs that are just looking because LA has a female police chief, and fire chief. They're trying to find anything to make an excuse. Cut it out, okay?
Yep.
Bullshit. They don't say this when it's a white man, so stop it. DEI had nothing to do with this. This was a horrible wildfire, act of nature. There are some issues with forestry there in California, but this is stop it, okay? Stop it. Thank God President Biden in his final days is doing the right thing to get as much support to California before Donald Trump does, because we all know he weaponized disaster relief during his first term. How do we know? Because people who worked there told us, including my good friend who also worked at the National Security Council and finally went public and talked about what they had to do to convince Donald Trump to release disaster funds in areas that he thought were Democratic areas. And they were like, no, actually, your people voted too. Oh, okay, then we'll release the disaster funds. So don't let anybody bullshit you that Donald Trump doesn't weaponize disaster aid. He does. So thank God that is happening in the last final 12 days. We wanted to make sure, because I have a lot of friends in California. I'm sure Michelle, you have friends out there in California.
Yes,
Thankfully, so far, none of my friends have lost their homes as of now. I don't know, things change. Some of them did evacuate though, but we wanted to put up information. We have the QR code here. If you want to donate to
I have a bigger
organizations, there it is. You can use your phone with the QR code. It'll take you to a list of vetted charities where you can give money.
Yep.
I personally like to give money to more local organizations as opposed to the bigger like Red Crosses or Salvation Armies, because sometimes, a lot of that money goes toward administrative costs. It doesn't go to direct services. Where the local organizations, it goes more directly to people and they're less bureaucratic. But that's your prerogative, whatever you guys want to do. But that's just me personally. But
This
there's
is
a
the list
QR
that we
code.
put together. And it's a lot of local organizations for humans and for animals and pets, ways to help the families and the firefighters, the people who are out there risking their lives to try to save people and save their property. People will come out of that with injuries and burns and lung issues. They need help too. So there's also some resources there and ways and apps and whatnot to download so that you're always in the know and you're getting the latest information. So it is www.senecaproject.us/LA, or you can scan the QR code here that you're seeing on your screen, and that will give you the list, and there's links and all kinds of things there.
And for those who don't know, Michelle is the daughter of a fireman. So this is personal for her too, making sure that the families of the firemen and the firefighters there are taken care of as well, because they're in it too, and it's hard, and it's we need to make sure we take care of our people, all of them. And just because there's a lot of celebrities who lost their homes and all that, people think, oh, but, they're people too. They have lives and memories and their children and their schools. Like don't do that. Don't do that. We're all in this together. Okay. Don't be that person. Please do not be that person.
Billy Crystal's lived in his house since 1979 or something. He said, he raised all his children there. I mean, imagine that happening to you. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do for a living. I mean, that's awful.
No, it's horrific, and it's heartbreaking. And so a lot of lives, a lot of communities are going to have to be rebuilt. So this is where the best of us should come out as Americans, and helping through tragedy while we still have that, because we all know what's going to happen when Donald Trump takes over. There will be no decency coming from above. It's going to from the top down. They're completely indecent jerk offs, and it's going to take us. And that's what it's going to take anyway. It is up to us. We say that all the time. You hear us say that a lot. It is up to us. And that is the truth. It is up to us. All of us. Every single one of us can make a difference. And I wanted to end tonight's show on an email that we received this week from this lovely woman. Her name is Hannah. She sent us an email and said that she watched our American Girl ad, and she was so moved by it, she let her 6-year-old daughter watch it. And her 6-year-old daughter was so taken by American Girl that she has now taken up an interest in learning more about the historic women that we featured in American Girl. And they live in a part of upstate New York, not far from Susan B. Anthony's house.
Canandaigua.
Which because you're from up not far from there. But those are your people up there, Michelle. And we were like, it brought me to tears. I got teary-eyed reading the email. I sent it to Michelle, and she was like, oh my God. And I said, this is why we do what we do. Now this little girl has an interest in knowing her history and the history in this country of women. And that came from our American Girl ad that went viral and that so many of you supported. And, we want to do more of that. We want to tell more of those stories, because that's what moves people. And when people are inspired, change happens. So we wanted to take a little bit, a trip down memory lane and show American Girl again for some inspiration. Because it's hard to be an American Girl, but look at how far we've come and what we accomplished when we did not lay down and say no and obey in advance. We were able to accomplish things. And thanks to those women and the legacy that they have left for us, we're here and able to still do it now and inspire the next generation like Hannah and her daughter. So shout out to Hannah. Thank you. I don't know if you're watching, but we responded to you, and we're going to get that list so you can go and you can have teachable moments.
I have to go through the asset tracker and go through and make sure I have everything right, but we will publish them, I promise.
Oh, one last thing about that. If you have not seen 6888, the Tyler Perry movie about the all black World War II troop of women that did the mail, and it played an important role. A lot of people didn't know about what they did. True heroines.
Yeah, the
When
6
we put
AAA
American
battalion.
Right. When we put American Girl together, I wanted to make sure that there was historic images of Black women in there.
Mhm.
And Michelle was like, absolutely. And we worked with our team. We did not realize that we had put in that the actual 6 AAA battalion in American Girl, and that Tyler
I didn't
Perry
put
was
it
doing a movie on
together.
them.
Yeah, I
We
didn't
didn't put
put
it
it
together
together.
until seeing the movie. Michelle was
And
like, "Oh
and
my God."
And Nicole Avant is one of the producers on it too. If there's a story here
Yes.
I'm sharing, and she said, when she was growing up, one of the most remarkable feats of courage during World War II wasn't taught in school. I first heard about the 6th AAA Battalion when I was a young girl. My mom told me about Major Charity Adams, but I didn't know the full story. And they were the first and only all women's battalion in World War II. And they were sent to Europe on an impossible task because what had happened was all the mail back and forth from the troops to their families back in the United States wasn't getting through. And there was just, thousands and thousands and thousands of letters. Now, what was happening is morale for everybody back home, morale for the troops was at an all-time low. And when morale is low, what do we know? We know that, the
You're not
weapons.
motivated to perform well.
No. And listen, weapons, guns, ammo, those sorts of things in warfare are important, obviously, but there is another weapon that wins these wars, and it's the light that we carry with us and our families.
Yes.
And they, in this impossible task, and everybody was rooting against them, they did it. They did it.
Yep.
And for the first time, letters were being able to be exchanged between these young men and their families back home. And it helped win the war. It just did. And I mean,
Yes.
if you know anything, even just about World War II in general, I mean, you think about the world at the time when all of this was happening. World War I was in the rearview mirror, but nobody in the world, Europe or in the United States, wanted to even think about having to enter in another war like that again, because everyone was so traumatized and there was so much death and suffering. And so that's why kind of everybody was in some ways letting Hitler kind of do whatever. But Winston Churchill was the one person who said, not on my watch. And during the Blitz, there was, I think, something like 57 nights of bombing in London. And people couldn't sleep. They were delirious. And the British troops weren't firing back because they couldn't see what they were firing at. And they thought it was a waste of ammunition and weaponry. And
That's
so
right.
Winston Churchill said, no, fire back every single time. The people need to know that we are firing back, that we are fighting back. And that is why the morale.
Democrats, do you hear this?
Right.
Go back and read Winston Churchill. Maybe you guys need a history lesson. Go ahead.
He was a flawed man in a lot of ways, but he was brilliant. And he got a lot of things wrong, but he didn't get this wrong. He got this right, and he led the rest of the free world so that you and I are sitting here right now having this conversation.
That's right.
And the same with these women, because everybody did their part and everybody showed up and everybody fought back in their own way. And I think that, morale is such a huge part of this, and we have to pick each other up and carry each other through all of this.
Absolutely. At a time when they did not have equal rights.
Right.
Black women were not equal in this country, and yet served with honor and distinction and still did their duty to a country that did not see them as equals. And here we are, we're going to sit there and cower in the corner because we lost an election. Our grandfathers, Michelle says this all the time, our grandfathers and great grandfathers crossed oceans and continents to fight a war on foreign soil to protect democracy. We're not even being asked to do that yet. We're just simply being asked to pay attention, get involved, let our voices be heard, and actually fight for our own democracy. Can we handle it? I hope so. Let's not destroy their legacy, right?
We can do hard things. We can do hard things.
That's right. And with that, we're going to leave you with the hard things of being an American girl.
That's a little hard to watch, but it's inspiring in all ways.
I know but it's still inspiring despite the end result. We may modify it a little bit, but right now it's still in its original form. We know, so don't add us. It's still in the original form, but it still packs the same punch. And we'll see you guys next Thursday.
Bye, everybody.
Praying for
women's suffrage is a long story of hard work and heartache crowned by victory.
Was it so hard being an American girl?
Women throughout the country are committed to winning these rights for themselves.
Was it so hard living in a first problem world?
I'm Connie Chung, CBS News, New York.
When the American promise is the land of the free, but I'm waiting for the bill for the air that I breathe. Was it so hard being an American girl?
I do. I pray that we all remember our children are watching.
Every heart beats true for the red, white, and blue. Tell me, girls, what are we gonna do? Every heart beats true for the red, white, and blue. Tell me, girls, what are we gonna do? Every heart lost to all the red, white, and American girls. What are we gonna do? Every heart.
While I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last.
Every heart beats true for the red, white, and blue. Tell me, girls, what are we gonna do?